Hey everyone, welcome to How to Be Fancy. I'm Heather and today I'm going to show you how to magically grow your hair. Just kidding. Today obviously we're going to be talking about hair extensions. I have these hair extensions that VP Fashion kindly sent me. They come packaged in a little box like so. Inside this little box I will tell you exactly what I've got. I've got the hair extensions 613A. These are the DIY version, which means they come in a platinum blonde and then I dyed them to match my hair. I use Lunar Tides dyes because I love this hair dye a whole lot, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. These are human hair extensions, so you can cut them, dye them, style them. The cool thing about these hair extensions is they give you extra little clips in your package, and they also give you what my favorite thing when I opened the box was they give you like a little valet kit. So it's like this little bag and a little hanger that you can use to store your hair extensions when they are not in use, and I thought that was a very cool touch. Without further ado, let's get into how I cut, colored, and styled these hair extensions. To get started, you will need something disposable to protect the surface you're working on, your hair color, a tangle teasing brush, and some gloves. Before you start coloring, take your extensions and gently brush through them to remove any tangles. When you're ready to start coloring, just hang on to the top of the extension so it doesn't move around too much, and make sure that you really coat that top thread line. You don't want that to have the beige or blonde coloring to it, or it will show through your scalp. Then basically you're just going to paint this on, give it a generous coat, and just do your best to cover as much area as possible. These extensions will really soak up the color, so it will take quite a bit of color to do all of this. Once you are done with the front side, you're going to gently flip these extensions over and just be careful to lay them down really flat and smooth them out as you need to. You don't want any of that hair to be twisted because you're trying to get all of the hair colored. So once you kind of get that all laid out flat, then you can go ahead and start the coloring process. On the back side of the extensions, you're going to want to make sure that you really carefully paint underneath those combs. That hair is blonde too, so it will need to be painted. So just make sure that you really work that in. And then you can see here that I'm starting to split the hairs of the extensions, and that's just because between the front and the back sections there will always be hair that gets trapped and isn't painted, and that especially happens in the more dense portion of the extensions, so closer to the top where the combs are. Once the extensions are completely saturated, I like to take a little bit of extra hair color and just massage it through and catch anything I might have missed. Then you just want to set it aside for about 30 minutes so that it can process. I'm going to be trimming the bottom 2.5 inches just where these taper off at the ends. When I'm cutting, I like to go pretty blunt at the ends just because of the vintage styling that I like to do. Your preference is totally up to you. To make sure everything is exactly the same length, all you want to do is take your next extension, match it up to the top of the one you just cut, and trim off any excess. So to get prepared to put these extensions in, it's not difficult at all. I'm just going to brush through my hair a little bit, get some of the tangles out. And then I'm just going to make a deep part, so just kind of right above my eyebrow here. And I kind of have a hairstyle in mind that I want to do today, that I want to try out. And it's not one that I've tried to do with extensions, so we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. So for this you'll need a hair tie and a bobby pin if you want one. And I'm just going to split my hair, I hope that you can see this, kind of just at the nape of my neck. And just take this hair, use your rubber band, and get that out of the way. Lovely. You can take a teasing comb, a teasing brush, whichever you prefer, and just tease this little section of hair here. And that's just going to give your extensions something to hold on to. If you have shorter hair like me and you don't want weird little pieces sticking out to the sides that are shorter than the extensions are going to be, you can take this little section and just make a baby bun out of it, put your bobby pin in it, and then you won't have little side shorties peeking out. I'm going to start with the 4-clip extension. Make sure all of your clips are undone. Just makes it a little bit easier. And then I'm just gonna go right kind of to the center of my head. Get those as close to the root as I can. I clip the center two in first on this bottom one and then come around to the sides. Just to kind of hopefully make sure that that is centered. Woohoo! Elvira! For the next one, I'm just going to go right here at my ear line. You can even pop a little hairspray right there. If your hair's super like slick and silky or you just washed it, hairspray will give it a little bit of that gritty texture. So I'm going to take the other 4 clip weft. And then for this last one, I'm going to go right at my temples. Then with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start, because I don't want them to show over here on the sides. So I'm going to start just kind of like behind my ear-ish, right about here. And start on the outside edge and clip that in. Then work my way toward the middle. And then within that same part line, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I do still want to tease this crown section of my head, just because that really helps to hide any extensions you may have peeking out. And then do the same thing on the sides. Once you've got that all teased out, I'm going to take these little shorty pieces and we're going to work on this front section where you can really see the divide in the hair. Just clip that little baby in. Same thing over here. On my last two, I used the cyan blue from Lunar Tides to make this just a little bit lighter, so we get a little bit more of that mermaidy effect. Now that we've got all these in, I'm going to start curling. I've got my trusty dusty T3 here. So to do this, I'm going to be rolling everything in the same direction, and we're going to start with my bang area. And I'm focusing most of this curl as I go along. I'll be focusing it a little bit more on the mid-lengths and ends, because I don't want this top section to be curly. If you need to, take a clip and clip that into place. So I'm kind of starting where my natural hairline is to make sure I get that in the curl. You can see it right there. Twisting this under, or I guess rolling this under. You actually don't want to twist the hair at all. You want a nice smooth curl. You can do this with a curling wand too. On myself, I just prefer to do it with a barrel iron. On other people, I find it to be easier with a wand. Just depends on your personal preference. Use what you like. And I'm tilting it toward my face. I'm going to let that fall, but I'm going to hold it with my hand. And again, I'll probably go ahead and clip this one in place. From here back, I'm going to be doing 2 sections, so a top layer and a bottom layer. Continue on around your head and then let these babies cool. Okay, I am back after letting all of these cool, and you can see I've got some crazy loose bits, but that's okay. I was eating lunch and doing chores and things like that, so it got a little messy. But you can see I rolled everything in the exact same direction. So all of this, basically, this all is rolled back, and it keeps rolling back all the way around, and then once it gets here, it rolls to the front. So hopefully that will give us a really nice uniform curl to work with. Fingers crossed. You never know. I'm going to take this little brush here. This is like a little tangle teaser. I'm using this because it's got those wide plastic bristles, so it's going to be pretty gentle on the extensions. So you want to be careful as you brush through, again, starting with the bottom, working your way up, and then we can start to really work the curl into play that we want. And I'm going to kind of brush everything slightly under as I go. Now I'm going to take a little bit of pomade and just work that into particularly my natural hair to kind of help blend that into the extensions and also to take away some of the frizz that my natural hair just has because it's real hair. So here I'm just trying to find this little wave, which you can see has formed pretty well. I've switched over to a comb because that's a little bit gentler. When you're trying to find a wave, it's a little bit easier to do with a comb. I want that to come kind of over my face just a little bit. I want to smooth this down as much as I can and get that curl down toward the end of this hair. So where this curl starts to form here, I'm just going to pop in a little clippy. Now I've just carried on brushing or combing as it may be. And I'm just finding, you can see I'm just finding that little curl, and then where it comes back in, I'm going to take one of these little clips, just kind of place that in there. And that's going to help me create the wave that I'm looking for. So you can kind of see how I have placed these in each of those individual waves. Now this isn't perfect. If I were doing it on someone else, I could probably get a few more waves in there, but because it's just me here with a hairbrush and a tiny baby mirror, we're doing the best we can. I'm gonna add a little pomade over the top of this while it's here, marinating in these clips. Gonna give each of these layers a little bit of a spray. And I'm just blending my natural hairs into this wave pattern. Just a little bit of that coming in there. Kind of like the idea of that being separate. Do you know what I mean? So it looks like there's a little break right here. So I'm gonna just roll that up as like a separate little roll, and then this can come down separately. I think that's really pretty. Spray that into place now that we've got it where we want it. I'm going to start taking these little clips out. Okay, so the hardest part about all of this is really blending in where my shorter layer is blending into this extension. And so you just kind of have to keep brushing until it smooths out and it looks natural, like that's where my shortest layer is, but it kind of just looks like part of the wave now versus like a little extra wispy sticking up for some strange reason. And there you have it. Got this kind of waterfall sort of wave a la Veronica Lake / Micheline Pitt, who are my two inspirations for today's video. I hope that you guys liked this video. If you want more information on VP Fashion's hair extensions, I will leave their link along with a coupon code down in the bottom. If you need more of me, you can always find me over on Instagram at HowToBeFancy. I would love to see you over there. Until next week, guys, I love you and I will see you later. Bye-bye.